Welcome to the Ronan Bell Show. This conversation is going to kick off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dr. Kim, how are you doing today?
Hi, Ronan. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. I'm a little tired. If you can see like the dark circles underneath my eyes, didn't get a lot of sleep last night. So I know you're mad at me for that, but that's okay.
It is important to get sleep. I know that people don't, they think they can just ignore it, but it is important.
It was like really funny. I figured out that if I, sleep too long, I feel tired, and if I don't sleep enough, I feel tired. So like if I'm like between that 6 and 8 hour range, I feel the most efficient. But if I sleep over that, I feel tired. It's weird when you like wake up and you're like, oh, I felt like I slept a lot, but you still feel awful.
And you're very wise to figure out what the time is this. And the time that you need to sleep can change depending on what you're doing, the time in your life, the season in your life. So you should always look to yourself and how you feel. You're smart.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just like did a study in my psych class for it, and that's how like I kind of figured it out. But Dr. Kim, let's get into it. So you're an acupuncturist, right? So when did you start doing acupuncture?
Yes. Mhm. I was licensed in 2009. So I've been doing it for around 12 or 13 years.
Oh, wow. So, you're pro at this now.
I'm a pro at making it simple and doing simple things because acupuncture is really about simple common sense rules that coincide with nature.
So do you like go to school to become an acupuncturist, or is there
I
some
did,
kind of
yes.
class? Okay.
Yep. I have a master's degree in acupuncture, and I also have a doctorate in acupuncture and Chinese medicine. I'm also licensed by the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay. Okay. So are you like, is that something that you like study for? Like, is it in the United States that you can take classes for that, or do you have to go somewhere else?
And as a matter of fact, there's a school locally called the Wan Institute that many people graduate from. You'll see a lot of new acupuncturists in the area. So yes, the training for becoming an acupuncturist is very rigorous, and we are trained in theory of Chinese medicine, which is quite different than Western medicine.
Oh, 100%. It is like way different, but it's a very interesting feeling when you like go and do like I've done acupuncture, I can say, and it isn't different feeling than like taking a pill, and like it's more, your body and mind kind of coincide at one part. But how did you originally hear about acupuncture?
So when I was younger in my 30s, I was having some issues, pain issues, and I kept driving. I just went in really one treatment, he showed me what a difference life can be with acupuncture. I went for a while. He helped me with a number of things.
Yeah, that's really interesting because you don't, I feel like it's something that you hear about once and you're like, oh, I'm scared of needles, like I don't want to do it, and then
I
you
hear you.
try it and it's like this different thing that you're ever used to. It's like better than getting a massage. It's like you just sit there and like you feel it's a weird. Now stay with me here because I know it's like if you haven't gotten acupuncture, you don't know what I'm talking about. But it's like an energy movement within your body.
It is exactly right, Ronan. Chinese medicine is about balance. Acupuncture is about bringing balance to your body. So if you're all charged up, it's going to calm you down. If you're really low, it's going to bring you up. Chinese medicine is concerned with the proper flow of energy throughout your body, and it affects you physically, mentally, and emotionally. Many people are always asking me, did I put something in the needles? And absolutely not. We're not allowed to put anything in the needles. There's no way you can, but it generally brings peace, and peace helps with whatever condition you're trying to correct.
Ooh, that's like a big thing nowadays, especially because like integrated medicine is only becoming more and more popular through, the United States and everything. And I think that it's coming more popular because there's more colleges that are studying it. Like integrated medicine is solely becoming more popular because you can get like you can get taught about it now, and that it's not hard to access. It's not like you have to go somewhere else to learn the like trade. That's not like the right word, but learn the practice more or
And more
less.
importantly, more importantly, Ronan, it's very effective. And this is consumer driven. People like you who have tried acupuncture usually swear by it. Whether it can actually cure your condition or just help manage it, everyone notices a difference and feels more peaceful afterwards.
So how does it essentially work? Like why does acupuncture work? Because like it's a needle going into my skin and all of a sudden I feel good. Like how
Right,
does it
right.
exactly work with that?
Well, this is why it's so important to get a real acupuncturist who's been trained as rigorously as the ones that are board qualified. And that is acupuncture and Chinese medicine is preventative. And and above all, it strives to anticipate your health in variety of seasons, in the variety of your life, uh, your life segment, if you're older
Yeah.
or you're younger. Acupuncture is acupuncture basically believes that it's easier to correct something before it happens and it's easier to correct something when it's simple. So those little simple things make a big difference. We interpret how you are based on your internal weather. Just like there's an external weather, there's an internal weather that we really pay attention to. Are you too hot? Are you too cold? Are you too wet inside? Are you too dry? These are important things that can affect your overall health. And when you open your mouth and your acupuncturist looks at your tongue, that's what they're doing. They're assessing these things and they're balancing. And that's why you feel so much better when you're doing acupuncture on many levels.
Well, it's interesting to see like these like little things. Like you would think nothing less of it. Like why are they sticking out my tongue? And there's like a reason behind all of it, which makes it really interesting.
It's from thousands and thousands of years ago. It's from a philosophy called the Tao or the Way, where acupuncture believe that we are part of nature and the only way that we will stay healthy is to be in balance with ourself, centered within ourself and centered within nature. And so it is astonishing how far we've gotten away in our Western practices. When we're tired, we take a pill to keep on going. Whereas in Chinese medicine, they say, you can do that and we can help you. But in general, it's better to slow down if you're tired. And then you'll really have the energy in the long run.
Well, it's interesting because I'm seeing more and more athletes go into it now rather than just like, ice treatments, like take an ice bath or whatever. And I
Don't,
think it's really,
no
I
ice,
was
no
just gonna
ice.
say, so why no ice and only just heat?
Chinese medicine all is about the correct flow of energy that we call qi, but it's basically the way your body should work. And when you put ice on things, it slows everything down. And usually that's not what we want. Sometimes the circulation and the blood getting into different areas is the way you get better with Chinese medicine, is allowing that blood to get into those knees, to get into that back. And so many of our treatments are about cupping, which forms red circles on the skin surface, showing that the blood has come to the top. Guasa, which is a scraping technique that you see redness on the skin, it shows that the blood is coming to the surface. Moxibustion, which is an herb that we actually burn on your skin at certain points that brings the circulation to the surface and heats deeply and warms the needle. All these things get the blood going because usually there's a problem with it being obstructed.
Well, it's really interesting because the flow, like your mind controls so much more than you really think, especially with injuries. And I was just brought in light to this by like a couple podcasts that I've listened to. Obviously, going to acupuncture a couple times, and just like seeing the real difference in what it does. Because I'm doing my research and I've like learned that like a lot of people have lower back pain, and 90% of lower back pain is caused by back spasms. Well, that's all originally from your mind more than anything else. And that's where I think it's interesting with acupuncture, because it's more than just your body like getting healed. Like you throw some heat on it, like, okay, cool. But it's the energy where you can focus where you're throwing your concentration in your mind too, which helps you heal that area or whatever it may be. And that's what like cupping and stuff does, right?
Right. I do believe that your mind plays a part of it, but when you just said back spasms, I think back spasms can be caused by a number of things: low nutrients, an injury, many different things. But the point is, it depends on what it is for you. And one issue as well with Western medicine is they want to find the one thing that causes something. And there's sometimes no one thing. And my professors would always ask, why do you Americans always want to know why? And if you think about it, it really doesn't matter why. In Chinese medicine, they have icons. It's usually a circle that's significant of the whole, but it doesn't quite close. And they don't like a closed circle because a closed circle is limiting. It means that that's all there is. That's all you know. That's all there is to be. And Western people are used to asking that question, what is it? But in Chinese medicine, we leave room for everything. Everything influences it. And there's good, better, best. But with back problems, acupuncture can definitely help you with back spasms.
Well, it's interesting to see how like it's a lot different than like a feeling that you're used to when you're doing acupuncture, or when you're getting acupuncture rather, because it's like you feel this like everything going towards this like one area with like the cupping or like the needles. So is it based on the nerves in your body coinciding with each other and all bringing energy throughout your body? Like how does it exactly? Well, I don't understand why the needles are in like certain spots hit different things, right?
Right,
Like if
right,
there's a needles in your
right.
foot, why does it help my stomach? Like I don't understand that. What is
Right,
that
right,
for?
right, right. So different acupuncturists actually have different theories, but the fundamental theory is balance. I keep coming back to that. They have pathways going through everyone's body and they studied it. They call it meridians. But these pathways are like highways. And sometimes we can assess whether these highways are deficient or excessive. So if there's too much on the highways, we take some things off. And if the highways are deficient and need more work, we add some things. So it's that sounds so simplistic, but really it's basically bringing balance to your highways and to the yin and yang of you, the the part of you that's active and the part of you that's quiet and passive.
So do you think that that the combination of Eastern and Western medicine works better than just one or the other? Or is it solely just like if you do this, like Chinese medicine is the way, or no, like Western medicine the way? Or is it the combination of the two that really kind of, intermesh and create the best possible outcome?
That's a really great question, Ronan. I think it depends on the individual. I
Yeah.
think it depends on the disease. If you're having chronic digestive issues, chronic fertility, if you have headaches and chronic pain, and you've already tried your Western doctor, why not try something different like acupuncture? Many people report relief from them. So sometimes it's it's both. Many people with severe diseases that are going through chemotherapy, other important treatment, use acupuncture and Chinese medicine to negate the symptoms of their treatment so they can get better via Western acupuncture. So, to answer your question, how does it work? I really don't think anyone understands how it works, but I know that if you look to the results, That's more important than understanding why at this point.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear that because that everyone wants to know like why does this work? And at the end of the day, what's really interesting about acupuncture and what's really interesting about the difference between Western and Eastern medicine is that there needs to be a reason why it works. But and in reality, that like us as human beings know like 0.001% of what science like really is at the end of the day. Like we don't know everything. Even though that like this is what's being thrown at us, like we're taught like, oh, this is the end all be all. Like there's always going to be more research, but we don't know. Like at the end of the day, we know nothing.
And every 5 years, we advance quite a bit in science and information. We are always learning more. So I tell people acupuncture is fairly inexpensive and really it can do no harm. You're having issues. Why not call your local acupuncturist?
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's where like the weird thing is because people judge it based on, I think the first thing that people have a problem with is like, I don't want to get needles stuck into me. But
Right,
it's
right,
really
right.
not that bad. Could you just describe that process a little bit of why it's like, it's literally like a tap on your skin. Why doesn't it hurt me?
So different acupuncturists have different styles. Some acupuncturists are trained from a Japanese approach. I have a Japanese approach, and so my style is gentle. We have to feel the energy, but in Japanese approach, the practitioner feels the energy. If I was a more of a Chinese style acupuncturist, we believe the patient should feel the qi. And so our style in that case is a little bit more vigorous, and the patient might feel it a little bit more. But generally, acupuncturists are gentle, and we just try it's the needles are the dimension of a hair. They're so thin. It's nothing like the needle of a hypodermic needle or anything like that. They're very thin and they're most people say that they can't feel it, but in some areas and with some techniques you might.
Oh, yeah, I mean that's with anything, right? In life,
Right,
like
exactly.
people are gonna differ from whatever it may be. So, but also going into like different kinds of Chinese medicine, what's like I see this like all over Instagram, like they like the fire cupping, like they put fire in a glass and they like put it on your skin, and it like it's just like regular cupping, but it's with the how does that work exactly?
So I was trained in fire cupping too. The fire creates a suction when you stick it in to the cup. It's you use a glass cup and you take an alcohol laden cotton ball on a long hemostat. You stick it into the cup and it forms a suction and you quickly put it on your patient's back. Some love to do it traditionally like that. I work very quickly and I've had a few little, accidents. So I prefer to use plastic cups and a suctional device. But either way, it's amazing and effective.
Well, I think that it's interesting about like the cupping and everything that like more and more training rooms are getting cups and like things and they're training people on how to do that where 5, 10 years ago you would have never thought to see that in like your training room at a high school.
Exactly. That's so wonderful. Cupping used to be a tradition in every Chinese household. And it's not only Chinese uh, traditions that use cupping. Eastern Europeans, Russians, Greeks, many cultures have used heat with cupping as a form of helping with pain, moving congestion on the lungs. People who come in with severe bronchitis or pneumonia can be very helped with simple cups.
So it's interesting that you say that because I thought originally that like acupuncture and Chinese medicine was just for like physical aches and everything. So how does it work into actual diseases and viruses or whatever it may be?
I'm sorry to be so boring, but the answer is always the same. We believe that when you center a person and when they come back into themselves, when they grow appropriately up and down, then they will be able to withstand any storm. Their immunity will gain strength and they will be true to their nature. And when you are true to your original nature, you are strong and able to combat any forces. Think of a tree. Think of a beautiful tree that grows tall. What would happen if it didn't grow roots to manage the height of the
Yeah.
tree? It has to grow up and down in order to be strong and withstand the elements. So do
Well, it's
you.
yeah, that's interesting to hear because that it's like with anything else that there's always like a duality to everything. And I'm like, and duality originates in the yin yang. It's where the the origin of the word comes from. And that's like I think duality is a great concept, but it really applies to anything in life. And it especially applies for the centering of your body, which is something that is it sounds cliche and it sounds weird, but it's only cliche and sounds weird if you haven't experienced what centering is like. Because you can come into like acupuncture and like you could be all fired up, and then all of a sudden, like after it's done, you feel like melt, you feel like aligned up. It's like it's almost like an internal okayness that that's not like the word. That's I don't even know if that's a word, but
From
that's what it really feels like.
it does. And we believe from the deepest stillness comes the greatest power. If you look at winter, Ronan, and you see the deep, deep quiet and stillness of nature, and then realize in late winter that you have a seed that is capable of growing and breaking through that frozen ground, you'll understand the contrast of the deepest yin to the deepest yang. And we have that in us, and it should be harnessed, and we should recognize it.
So here's a question that I want to throw at you. Do you believe that the body could like heal itself in anything like possibly thrown out? I'm talking like if you shattered your entire leg, would it be possible for your body to essentially heal it to make it brand new again?
That's a tricky question because I feel it depends on the person. You know, there's many people who have shattered their hands or whatever, and however it's replaced, could it be replaced by acupuncture? Really, I don't know, but that's one of those limiting questions again, Ronan. You really shouldn't have to answer black or white. Suppose it doesn't heal it totally. If it makes it
Yeah.
20% better, and the difference is between absolute shatter and some usage, or at least, as elimination of 20% better, it's good. And it brings you closer to balance.
Yeah, and that's interesting. But at the end of the day, you believe that the body can heal itself in some possible form or way.
I see. And you can look at this in science, in Western science. All of the rejuvenation that we see from stem cells, we used to think we could only get it from primordial stem cells, but now we're using stem cells in so many ways to regrow. Nobody knows the potential. Don't limit it by only limiting your questions to things that have answers.
Yeah, no, that is really interesting. So with the whole stem cell research and everything, and I feel that as if your body healing itself is becoming more and more popular, and essentially integrated medicine goes along with that saying and getting more natural ingredients rather than chemicals from, whatever it made in the lab. So do you think that integrative medicine is just going to continue to grow and possibly not take over because they can't take over Western medicine, no matter how bad that anyone would want it? It's a big industry. Do you think that integrative medicine is going to become more popular over the next couple years now that it's becoming more prevalent in the United States?
So you're using the term integrative medicine, and it means different things to different people. If you're asking whether I feel that more Western doctors will coexist and share patients with Chinese medical doctors or acupuncturists, I absolutely do. Do I feel like it's a slippery slope, though? Many acupuncturists are now employed in hospitals, and they are doing good things, but in many ways, their treatment styles are limited. So I caution everyone before they westernized Chinese medicine, it won't be very good. Right now, in this time in our society, we have everything very black and white, very partisan. If you believe this, then it means you believe that. And that's really dangerous because it means you have a house and you're only allowed to look out of one window of your house. Don't dumb down Chinese medicine. Allow the theory of Chinese medicine to to thrive. It's important not to just keep going. It's important to rest. It's important to fit into nature. It's important to follow the way, follow the Tao.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I'm like, and you tell me this, like you go too fast. I'm like, what do you mean? So like when something is bothering you, you can't just push through it. So why do you feel about like all these athletes trying to like get through their injuries and like play through it rather than taking a break or whatever it may be? If it's not bothering them so much, they're like, I don't have to stop. Like I can play with a half fractured wrist if I need to.
So I feel that is in a little bit of a different category because if they are have a good coach, they have certain goals in their life, and that
Yeah.
might be this game. And then after this game, I know they take care of themselves. I know they get the acupuncture, they get the massage, they get the physical therapy, they get the chiropractic, and they get the Western medical care. They are professionals, and I am a believer in going for it. Just because you believe in balance doesn't mean that you believe in mediocrity.
Yeah.
To be the best, you need to be still and know who you are and know how things make you feel. You can't look to somebody else who's looking at a software program to tell you how you feel.
And that is interesting because like the main theme of it is that everyone is going to be different in whatever it may be. And though it may take time to heal, people are just going to go and do it anyway, right? Because that's like there's an end goal in mind. If you want it, you want it. And no matter what, the sky could be falling like Chicken Little and you could
You
still
should
be
follow
wanting
your
towards it.
heart, Ronan. Chinese medicine believes that the heart is the supreme ruler, and they don't differentiate between an emotional heart and a physical heart. Your brain is supposed to figure out how to get what your heart wants. So always go for your dreams, but just rest a little while.
No, and that's it. It is true. Like I feel like that passion and your heart in terms of like the figurality of it that they kind of coincide. If you aren't like liking something and it's not fulfilling you, like, and then you try and do it, you don't want to do it. At the end of the day, if it's not making you feel good inside or externally, but like you have to do it and you still do it, it's not at the end of the day, it's not going to fulfill you at when you're trying to like when you're in your 50th hour of work during the week or whatever it may be. You're not like eating as much as you would. And then you're like, but I'm still making a lot of money. At the end of the day, if it doesn't fulfill you internally, then it won't help later on.
You are so wise. If your heart is not into things, you are separating from the Tao. You are separating from your true nature. Everybody has to do things that they don't like once in a while, and maybe it's for a season. But if you do it for years, you may become off balance and you may become sick.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love it, Miss Kim. So before we go on with the rest of our day, I asked it to everyone. Dr. Kim, what would be one piece of wisdom that you want to pass on to the listeners out there?
So, the most important thing I would like to pass on is that there is so much you can do for yourself to prevent illness. Many people are so full of information that's well intentioned, but they feel overwhelmed with information. When you feel off, it is easier for you to get into balance when you're just a little bit off. Don't wait. Don't wait for the test. Don't wait for some sign if you feel off. Check in with yourself. Maybe that's just rest. Maybe it's going to your acupuncturist. Maybe it's just slowing down or speeding up, but don't ignore it. Don't ignore it because it's important. And I want you to look to nature to guide you. Many of us are swamped with the amount of details we need to know. So many of us come in very anxious or stressed. And then we are having huge levels of infertility, cancer, digestive upset, blood pressure that's too high. So getting into balance can help you now for the future. Getting into balance and and accepting that you are tied to nature and that a pill isn't always the thing that's going to make you feel better is smart. I think that you are human, you're an animal, and you should live tied to the sun and nature.
Make sure that you're in imbalance so that you are connected to where everyone actually originates at the end of the day. That your balance is more important than anything else. Guys, that's it for another episode of the Ronan Bell Show. Dr. Kim, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Ronan. Thank you so much for having me.
Is there anything that you want to plug before we go on?
Actually, there is. Many know that I'm also a licensed dietitian and nutritionist, and we are opening a private delivery service for people who might be a little sick. Uh, we are featuring vegan juices, soups that are simple, nutritious, and very fresh. If you're interested, email me at info@skipbackacupuncture.com or kim at skipbackacupuncture.com. Thank you.
Go check it out. Again, Dr. Kim, thank you for coming on the show today. Guys, that's it for another episode of the Ronan Bell Show. Hope you're getting through whatever you're getting through. Have a good rest of your day. And as always, y'all, just keep on keeping on.